Good evening and thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera America. I'm Stephanie Sung.
And I'm Antonio Mora. We begin with a tragic Germanwings plane crash in Europe today. The recovery effort has been suspended until tomorrow morning, but officials tonight are certain none of the 150 people on board survived.
Todd Curtis is an Al Jazeera America transportation contributor joining us from Newton, Massachusetts tonight. Todd, good to see you. We don't have a lot of details. We do know some facts. One of them is that no distress signal was sent out. What does that say to you?
Well, it doesn't say much in particular, because if there were an emergency situation and if the crew was reacting to it properly, communicating with the outside world would not be a high priority item. Continuing to fly the airplane in a safe manner and navigating the airplane perhaps to an alternative airport would have been higher priorities than talking with air traffic control.
What about the descent time from 38,000 feet to 6,000 feet in 8 minutes, and shortly after that it's believed the plane crashed?
Well, the descent time is far greater, roughly twice as fast as what you would see in a normal descent to landing. But it's consistent with the kind of descent, controlled descent, that a crew would execute if they were responding to certain types of emergency situations. The most common one that comes to mind is a loss of cabin pressure, either a slow leak or a catastrophic loss of pressure, where the priority would be to get the airplane down to an altitude where the atmosphere is breathable without using supplemental oxygen.
Local officials describe the plane, Todd, as pulverized. What does that reveal to investigators?
Well, it's hard to say because the official investigators on the scene haven't given their interpretation of the wreckage that they have seen. However, from the overview photos that were released earlier today, it's clear that the aircraft was broken up into relatively small pieces, consistent with a high-speed impact with the ground rather than a slow-speed controlled impact with the ground.
How unusual is it to have something go wrong when a plane is in the middle of the flight at cruising altitude?
It's fairly unusual. Historically, when it comes to accidents involving large jet transport, such as the A320, less than 10% of the accidents either take place at cruising altitude or initiate at cruising altitude. And again, it's unclear what happened to this aircraft. It may be days or weeks before we know this. But from all outside appearances, the flight was normal up until the time it reached cruising altitude. So presumably, whatever happened started to happen right at about 38,000 feet.
So this was a budget airline, but it is affiliated with Lufthansa. How is Lufthansa's safety record, and would that apply to this subsidiary?
Well, Lufthansa is a major airline of Europe and one of the largest airlines in the world. And in fact, this is only the fourth time since 1970 that Lufthansa, or one of its associated airlines, has had an event that killed passengers. So compared to other top-ranked airlines, its safety record is on par, if not better than most.
Todd Curtis, Al Jazeera America's transportation contributor. Of course, still a lot of questions, and I'm sure we will have you back soon. Todd Curtis, thank you.